I was unhappy making $7.25 an hour when I was 17 years old. It was a mindset shift. My superpower is I am very lazy in a funny way. I do not want to do work I don't have to do. I am going to look for every possible way to get the job done fast as possible, as efficient as possible.
Hey, welcome back to the OWNR OPS Podcast. I'm your host, Austin Gray. In this show, we talk all about starting and growing local service-based businesses. We publish episodes every Friday on the podcast, Spotify, Apple, and YouTube. And then we send a weekly newsletter on Saturday with a recap of the best learning lessons from our guests. If you haven't signed up for the newsletter yet, you can do so now, OWNROPS.com/newsletter. That's OWNROPS.com/newsletter. This week's guest, Tanner Mullen from Drip Jobs. Tanner actually started a painting company back in 2016. But when COVID hit, he decided to build a piece of software that would solve his biggest pain. What was his biggest pain? He felt like the process of following up with leads was broken. So he built a solution around it. Tanner and I jive, and I've been so excited for this episode because I'm a fellow automation nerd as well, and he and I went deep into the psychology behind following up with your website leads fast. He shared one stat here that will blow your mind. Did you know after 5 minutes, when a customer fills out your form on your website, the chance of them responding to your... I'm going to leave you on a cliffhanger. You got to listen to the episode to figure that one out. But it's a crazy stat. After 5 minutes, you'll be blown away.
Tanner's saying that he offers free business coaching for anybody who follows his Instagram, if it's a Drip Job client. So why don't we kick this thing off and introduce yourself, Tanner?
Happy to be here. My name's Tanner Mullen. I am an entrepreneur and I love business.
So you got a painting company, you got Drip Jobs. How'd you get started?
Yeah, man. So it really started let me take you all the way back. I was a busboy and I was unhappy making $7.25 an hour when I was 17 years old. And I got an opportunity to become a server at another restaurant. The interesting part about this restaurant was it was a Chinese-owned sushi restaurant. It was high volume, kind of like a fusion restaurant. And I had the opportunity to create my own income. It was a mindset shift. It was, hey, the better you do, the more you'll get tipped. So I treated it like a game. As soon as I got an opportunity, it was, how well can I learn the menu? How well can I convey the offer? So before I even knew what offers were and sales, I was doing this naturally in the restaurant. There's two types of servers. If you go out to eat, you'll notice the first type is the order taker. The second type is the experience facilitator. Whenever I got a new group of guests, I had to position myself as the expert because I noticed they were there for the experience. They weren't there to just go through the motions. So I learned this early on. I started falling in love with conveying value, creating a great experience for people. Honestly, I've taken that experience of creating a powerful customer experience and being rewarded for that into my endeavors now. I've been through car sales, life insurance, banking, and eventually started a house painting business and transitioned into software. So now I have 2 software companies along with my house painting business.
This is incredible. I'm so fascinated by what you're doing. Take us back to the start of the painting company. Why painting and what market? Let's start with what market are you servicing?
Yeah. So the market I'm servicing, I'd say heavier on the retiree side, but we only do repaints. We're a high-end residential repaint company at volume. We're not going to do $2 million, $3 million houses and spend a month on them. We're going to do the typical 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 4-bedroom, 3-bath houses hundreds of times. And it's awesome. I wouldn't have it any other way. So average job size is about $5,600 right now. And that's about right. We've positioned ourselves as a leader in our market, highest rated company, only 5-0 company after 8 years, which, knock on the wood here, man. It's fragile, but I'm going to take it. At the end of the day, again, customer service, customer experience, how I got in there. Dad was a painter, journeyman painter. Okay. Worked for a company. Recession hit. He had to go do his own thing. Would take me along with him on the weekends. waking me up at 6 a.m. Here I am prepping out rooms, taping baseboards and rolling walls. He's doing all the cutting and all the difficult stuff. I'm 13. At the end of the day, I'd get $60. I'd stash it away, bought my first Xbox. That's something.
I recently got back from launching a land clearing business down in Austin, and this last winter, I launched a snow shoveling business alongside Bear Claw. And in both businesses, I've implemented Jobber as a way for us to efficiently manage quoting, job schedules, and invoicing, and even collecting online payment. Why? Because it's worked so well for us in Bear Claw, and it's saved us a ton of time and headache. So if you are looking for a software that can help you manage the back end of your business, look no further than Jobber. You can visit go.getjobber.com/ownerops, OWNR OPS.
Didn't do much after that. Never painted up until I started my business, but I always remembered the feeling that I felt first, and the customers go nuts when their house was transformed. I loved it. I was like, man, that's awesome. I was just so happy. So I just remembered what it was like. The reason I started my painting business, though, is because my dad fell into an addiction. My mother passed away. He stopped everything. He just gave up on life. I had a little sister back home. I was away at college. I was a loan officer at a bank, working up the corporate ladder. Eventually, they wanted to give me a branch to manage at 22. And I was like, you know what? I have an opportunity here to help my family and maybe get that spark back in my dad, because I remember he loved it. But I didn't know how to paint. The only thing I remembered was prepping. So I took a course, Painting Business Pro by Eric Barstow, big name in the painting space. It was a $300 course, and I remember thinking, man, that's a lot of money. And I bought the course, and his concept was incredibly intriguing. And it was sell the jobs, find the labor, get someone else to do the job. As a salesperson, I'm thinking, this is easy. And I called my dad. I'm like, hey, what do you think about this? And he couldn't believe it. He's, no, you have to paint everything like everyone else. Old school guy. I'm like, hey, no, this guy, look at his YouTube. He's great. We taught this concept. So anyway, even though that's not how I do it now, and it was way overstated how easy that was, it gave me the boost to get started. I quit my job and I went into business. That's how I started the painting.
That's awesome. I resonate so much with that too, because very similar to you, I grew up, my dad owns a concrete business back in West Texas, and I spent every summer with him.
Wow.
Just doing the things. We used to tape off floors and all that stuff. Or taping off walls in this scenario, it's a little bit different than what you're doing.
I love that business, by the way. Concrete, awesome business.
So he's in the decorative concrete. They do the stained and stamp. Oh, is that right?
That's right.
Cool.
Stamping, epoxy, big market for us. But I love that industry.
I do too. It's a sweet model. The margin.
Problem is that it's very owner dependent. It's like an artist. It's like you're sending Picasso in, and people want Picasso.
And I will give it to my dad. He has become Picasso of that industry down there. He's like, why are you spending all this money on ads, man? What are you talking about marketing? I've never had a marketing budget.
Dude, there's a guy here. You just see every other day another driveway is knocked out. He hit that when he hit that. There's just one guy. It's it. And you wait for him too. You'll be like, oh yeah, I'm not getting my stuff done in 6 months, but it'll be by the guy.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. So my little brother is about to graduate college, and he's going to work with him in that business. And yeah, he's always sending me pictures
Awesome.
like, hey, we just knocked another stain one out.
Great. Cool.
Yeah. Okay. So you start your painting business. What year is that, and how does it go?
I started the painting business 2016. This is my thought. I'm thinking dad's going to come in and be the superstar that I remember he was 8 years ago. Not the case. Big drop off. But it's good, because if I knew that, I wouldn't have quit my job. But if I couldn't go back, burn the boats, Tony Robbins said. I went to Unleash the Power Within the year before. So I was charged up. I'm like, this is it. This is my moment. One of the things that pushed me is that, I don't know if you're familiar with his event, Unleash the Power Within, Tony Robbins.
I'm familiar with him.
Yeah, familiar with him. So he has an event. Go to the event. And he has everyone that owns a business stand up in the room. There's 9,000 people. Freaking 8,200 of them stood up. And in my head, that was a shift for me. I'm not sitting up. I'm still working at the bank. So with all that charged up, I'm like, I go into the business. He's not who he was. And he is way gone in terms of addiction. That was a problem that I had to manage, thinking that he was going to be the painter. He was not going to be the painter. He needed rehabilitation. He was not in a good position. So at that point, I had to be like, Dad, we can't really work together. I put all my chips on this. So I had to start from scratch, found a guy that could paint and was going to do the model that I just discussed with you. And it worked for a month. Next thing, the guy that I hired, he's like a subcontractor / independent contractor. He starts taking on other work, trying to sell jobs to the customer, not showing up when I tell him. And I'm thinking, this isn't working, man. He's not my employee. He has the leverage in the relationship, and I don't have enough work, or I don't have enough of a sub network to be like, okay, I'll get someone else. I was desperate, right? So I'm selling the jobs, and I'm like, you know what? I need to find a team that's mine. So he would bring in a helper, and I liked the helper. He was a good kid. And I'm like, hey man, do you want to be a part of my team? And I'll pay you hourly. And he was like, yeah, for sure. So he was my first employee. I'm like, okay, now I have an employee. So me and him would pay, I would go do estimates. And meanwhile, how do I get leads? Home Advisor. That was my lead source early on. No Facebook marketers. I didn't have a Google connection, and I certainly didn't have a Facebook group. I wasn't on collaborating with other painters. This is in 2016. My buddy started a cabinet refinishing business around the same time, and he was using Home Advisor. That introduced me to that. And I'm like, okay, all I got to do is pay for leads and I'm going to get business. Coming from a car sales background, that's exactly what happened. I obviously was selling cars, so they would give me a stack of leads. So I was used to calling leads, but this was different. You pay per lead, and you call the lead and you book an estimate. And these are people that want to work with you. So that was my first start getting these leads and trying to convert them into sales. And they were interested leads, but what I learned was that even though they put in their information, I didn't know much about, but ultimately that doesn't mean they're interested. A lot of people are emotional about their inputs online, and I'd have to nurture those leads. And that's where the need for something like Drip Jobs was born early on back then.
When did you start building Drip Jobs? Was it in tandem with your painting business?
Yes.
Or did you get to a certain point and you were like, hey, I got to build this and stop all involvement with your painting business? Or did you split your time?
That's a good question, man. For me, first, well, I came from corporate sector, right? So every job I had, car sales, life insurance, and even in the bank, I was doing sales in the bank. I was flipping loans and selling different products. We had a CRM, right? You're not really doing your job without a CRM. So I knew that I needed a CRM. Now, I didn't have anything like Drip Jobs, but I had a CRM. So that was the first thing I knew I needed a CRM. As I started looking at what was in the market, I'm thinking, okay, I have the CRM, but I need to get my customers into the CRM. And I don't want to do this manually. Like, this sucks, typing in information, right? So I knew that I had leads, and I'm like, man, wouldn't it be cool if I could send the lead from Home Advisor to the CRM instantly? And what I learned was that Home Advisor had the ability to grab a webhook from their system and send the lead. I didn't know about this. This is like public information. Hey, connect your CRM. It was like this backdoor hack. They have a little team in the Home Advisor unit that you email, and they give you a webhook and you can send it, really for developers. I figured out how to do it. I got the webhook and I started playing around with Zapier. I created a system where the lead would come in from Home Advisor, go to Zapier, and Zapier would send it to another app called Active Campaign. Inside Active Campaign, you can create automation. So what I did was I put that lead into a list, triggered the automation whenever a new contact came into the list, and created an email sequence. So then I put my whole plan into action. Inside of this, I have it all set up. I hit the publish button. Now I'm waiting for a lead. I'm thinking, wait a minute, what happens if the lead gets the email? They're just going to email me and say, okay, what time can we do an estimate? So I looked up another app, and at that time it was, you can book me, similar to Calendly. So I'm thinking, why don't I just give them a link to book their own estimate? So I threw that link in. And then at that point in time, I just discovered fire. It's 3 a.m. and I just put together this crazy automation. I hit publish. Next day, like 7:30 in the morning, a lead comes in. And usually this is what would happen. I'd wake up around 8 from a long day of painting. 8 o'clock, I'm waking up and I don't feel like calling this lead. I don't really want to talk to someone that early. No one wants to do that. So we would wait till 9. And that's where the disconnect was, is that I was only able to take care of nurturing that lead when I felt like it, rather than the way it needs to be done, which is instantly. So anyway, lead comes in, but I got another email that says an appointment's been booked. That's all it took. I just understood that I just created something that is going to eliminate friction, help me make more money, and optimize my time. I'm documenting a lot of what I'm doing on Instagram at that point. I always love to help people. I always wanted to give advice, and I started seeing, man, there's a big network of painters on Instagram. So I just followed anyone that had painting in their name. And I would just share my story. I'd take them along the ride with me doing estimates. Hey, this is how I'm pricing out this. And I started to create like a little community of other painting contractors. And I started sharing what I'm doing. I'm like, hey, I got these leads from Home Advisor. I'm nurturing them and they're booking their own appointments. I never have to call another lead, which wasn't entirely true. You still have to call. Can't completely rely on that. I was fluffing it up to get people excited. So from that point on, I had a couple people that were interested and I started building out these automations for their businesses. So here I am at this stage. I have probably 3 painters. I'm painting every day, hustling, taking on jobs, going and doing estimates, 1 crew at a time. And now when I get home, I'm building out automations for a painting contractor and I'm selling that package to them, white labeling it. And it's in my first version of Drip Jobs. It was early on.
Just a hack together, no code solution
Hacked.
of different tools. I love it. I love it.
Perfect.
I knew you and I were this is why I was so excited to talk about this because, man, this is like one of my favorite things to do in the business is like think through these sequences, what sort of manual tasks can be automated. The tools he just mentioned are readily available to you. And there's no reason why every small service business should not have an automation set up right now.
Yeah.
So I'm interested in diving deeper with you on this. I think we could go like 3 different ways with this podcast. Before we dive straight into automations and software, because that's where I want to go with it. You said you started in 2016 and what is it, 2025? So you're 9 years in. What's the annual revenue of that?
Annual revenue is 1.6 million. That's what we did last year. We're probably going to do exactly the same this year.
Cool.
Yeah. And I'm happy with that. I don't care about growing it, obviously, because Drip Jobs is my focus. But yeah, 1.6 million. I'll break down how many team members we have. Right now, 12 painters. We have 1 supervisor who supervises all of the jobs, an estimator, and 2 admins.
Awesome. And then that is just humming right now.
Yeah. At this point, it's humming. The system, I'm still refining the system. You follow me on X. I'm sharing that. I don't know if you've seen, but I'm now trying to automate the entire estimating process virtually. We can talk about that later. But yeah, I would say it's at a place where it's humming. The reputation with word of mouth and all that, we get quite a bit of lead flow.
How do you break up your time between the painting business and Drip Jobs at this point?
And Drip Jobs is an entirely different animal, and it's 100% independent of me. That's the interesting part about Drip Jobs. I can't do any implementation aside from back-end automations and optimizations, which I do in my free time. I jump in on product meetings and development meetings just to make sure that the vision stays intact. I think the most important aspect of my role at Drip Jobs is to keep running my painting business to a degree of which I can identify the bugs before everyone else, and I can predict the future and build the future in Drip Jobs, because I don't have to ask a user their speculation of what the need is going to be. I am the user. So it's a really interesting relationship. I think that's what makes us special, is that I just have a really deep understanding of today's buyer because I'm dealing with them every day.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You're the best use case.
Best use case.
Because you've got the pulse on the business. You care about the business. You're thinking 2 and 3 steps ahead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
I
I'm
love it.
doing it selfishly for me too, to free me. So every time, I think one of your questions, what's your superpower? Dude, my superpower is I am very lazy in a funny way. I do not want to do work I don't have to do. I am going to look for every possible way to get the job done fast as possible, as efficient as possible. I was the kid in 5th grade who finished the test first. I like to be first. I like to be fast. Now that wasn't efficient. I don't think I got good grades, but I found the quickest way to get it done. For me, that's my superpower. How fast can I do it? How can I optimize my time? One of the things I mentioned earlier was that I hated typing in customers' information. To me, it was inefficient. I hate typing on my phone, writing it down, putting it into the CRM. In Drip Jobs, you don't have to ever type in a customer's information. And that came from a selfish reason of, I hate doing this. I didn't have to ask somebody if they hate doing this. I'm just going to assume that if I hate doing it, everyone else hates doing it. And then we're going to build a solution around it.
So you decide you're going to build this software company. Take us back to the beginning of that. How do you even go about that?
Oh man. So COVID, and I'm married at this point, building my life. and got my savings. Not very much, but I've saved. Always had it in the back. Everyone has an app idea, dude. Everyone has one. What can I build? And man, I just remember how scary it was. You don't want to get screwed. That's the thing. Like everyone believes their app idea is going to work if it gets built. It's the who's going to build it thing that gets everyone uneasy. I came across a US based development. They built a similar app. I reached out to them and I said, hey, I love what you built. I signed up for their app. It was pretty good at the time. I want to white label it because I had a lot of our trade drive customers. Those were the customers that I set up the automations. I had a lot of those guys asking me, hey, how do I connect it to Joist? How do I connect it to Job? How do I connect it to all these different apps so I can do estimates? I can do invoicing. I was desperately looking for the project management and customer proposal component of this patched together tech stack. This was a long time ago, not too long ago, but not a lot of these companies built their apps because they were so established for this. Because API, which is like connecting with Zapier, came about around that time. A lot of these apps weren't built with that in mind. So I reached out to them and I said, hey, this is what I want to do. And when I pitched it to them, they were like, look, you want to make way too many changes to what we already have, but we can build you a custom solution. He said it like, if you can swing. I said, all right, let's talk about that. So I had a brief meeting with them on Zoom. I went over my vision and they said, what we want you to do is write out all the stuff you want for it and put together a proposal. That night, I'm thinking, okay, wait a minute. I have a chance here. I met these guys. They seem legit, good reviews. It's just a software development company, UX. So I didn't want to go overseas. I didn't trust anyone, take my money. That's how I thought. And so anyway, for that night, I spent 3 hours writing out every single thing I would want in this app. And there was no ChatGPT. It had to come straight out of me. It was all dialed in. So I meet with them, outline exactly what I want. And that's what I thought I wanted. That's the problem with software development, is because you have to be very certain, because software developers will build exactly what you tell them. You can't come in with theory or a hypothesis. It's like, you've got to know. I had so much reference from TradeThrive. What I wanted, I just wanted it to be mine. I wanted it to be an all-in-one solution. So it was a lot easier for me to do this. I pitch it to them. They give me a price in the 6 figures. I told my wife, listen, I know this is going to work. And with her blessing, we pursued it and signed the paper.
That is incredible. And this is during COVID. How does the build out process go?
During COVID, build out process sucked, man. It's terrible. It was the worst experience almost of my life. It was incredibly stressful. I was well into paying $50,000 and I didn't have a workable product. That's a crazy mindset shift for someone who's never spent that kind of money on anything and doesn't understand software, because so much of the time is behind the scenes and I'm asking for updates. They were incredibly unorganized. I went through 3 project managers. First project manager I had, he was pregnant and went on leave. And then I had another guy come in, a young kid out of college. Everything that could possibly go wrong during this process did. I had to take the reins. I had to become a senior product manager in a software company before I even knew what that role was. I knew that, because what would happen is there'd be little communication throughout the week because they were building other apps for other people. I was only getting allocated maybe 10 hours a week, 10, 15 hours a week, getting billed $150 an hour. They would send me what they would build at one point where it was something I could click. You can imagine I'm getting that build at 5 p.m. on Friday. From that point on, Friday through Sunday, I'm tearing this thing apart. I'm like, this button needs to go, this needs to go here, this needs to go here. I'm sending them an email. And by the time that email gets flushed out, thought through, dialed in and iterated on, that was just another 10 grand of things that needed to be done at $150 an hour. I would see all these fixes on my next invoice. And I'm like, this was a bad cycle and you can lose a ton of money fast. So I had to really get into the mindset that I just need to get a workable app. The first version of Drip Jobs was terrible, but I was marketing it to people using TradeThrive. I had 30 or 40 customers ready to go. I knew that if I could get it workable, I could start bringing in some money and then start reinvesting that money into a better solution. I thought that they were going to be the company that was going to stick with me all the way, but I learned quickly that I needed a co-founder.
How did you approach that?
It came from frustration. I didn't know anyone that could code. So I went on Reddit, and there was a co-founder subreddit. I pretty much outlined what I've done up until this point. At this point, we launched. I had 50 or so companies using it. That was even harder because now you have bugs that are coming up, and you have tasks, and you have feature requests. Can you imagine every feature request 5 years ago that we didn't have, that people were just expecting because they came from an already established app like Jobber, and this was incredibly intimidating. Can you imagine at that point in time, I'm competing against Job, ServiceTitan, all these other companies that are well into 10 years of development. I know nothing. I have no development team. I have no salesperson. I have no onboarding rep. I'm doing it all by myself and I have no clue how to start or run a software company. I just had an idea. So I'm like, I need to get a developer. I'm seeing a problem here. You talk about efficiencies, understanding, reading patterns. I'm looking at this. If this sustains this way, I'm going to fail. I need to pivot. I need to go into something unknown, scary, find a stranger that I can give my 6-figure code base to and have him operate with integrity. And that was incredibly difficult. So went on Reddit, put out a post. This one guy came in, a very senior position at a company everyone knows. Okay. So that was incredibly appealing to me. And he wanted to jump into a startup. He liked the fact that we had customers and it was already built, and he wanted to be my co-founder. I was desperate. We agreed on a 30-day trial between him and myself. And throughout the whole time, the first 2 weeks, it seemed like we were getting some things done. From a sales perspective, I'm like, man, this is great. I can't go in and fix things. And that's a big difference from running my painting business. If my team doesn't show up, I'm going to go paint. I'm going to make sure my customers are happy. If there's a bug or the system freezes or it sends the customer the wrong message and I don't have any help, guess what? I'm screwed and I have to just apologize. So when this guy came in, he helped me get the code base into a place that I had control. And he started fixing things. I'm like, great, this guy's awesome. We're moving forward, getting some bugs knocked out. And he got into a little spat with the development company that started Jerk Jobs, and we wound up parting ways. So now I'm completely dependent on this stranger that I've known for 2 weeks with my 6-figure code base. I know nothing. I don't even know what the code looks like. I've never even seen it. So at this point in time, he starts talking about money and how he wants to get paid, and he wants an incredibly high equity split. He's a big Y Combinator. I want to launch it. Talking about all this stuff. And I'm over here talking about impact and helping the industry and helping guys. And I'm not thinking about all that. Like, he was just heavy on the way he saw it was like he was just going to ride a rocket ship in his eye. Anyway, long story short, it didn't work out. After the 2 weeks, I had to find a way to get the code base back. I had a buddy that I knew that could take it for me. He's holding it. And I had to block that guy from everything. Come to find out that he stored all the credit cards that came in the system and spun a new business up on Stripe and started running their credit cards, stealing money, siphoning money. This was a whole different scenario, not worth getting into, but that's just highlighting some of the challenges that you just go through early on. So from that point on, I tried again on Reddit and I ran into my co-founder, Jason, who's an absolute rock star. We are good friends to this day. He runs the show. He's our CTO. And without that guy, we wouldn't even be having this conversation.
This is incredible. So you've spent 6 figures on building a piece of software. Some dude comes in, he's basically stolen your code, or at least the credit cards associated with it.
Credit card, everything. He out of spite, he just extracted everything, tried to lock us out of where the code was stored. We had to go through hoops and ladders. And meanwhile, I had customers that this was insane, dude.
So if you think you want to start a software business, listeners, there you go.
Man, it's not even. If you don't know code, it's like starting a restaurant and you don't know how to cook. You are at the mercy of your chef. If he doesn't show up or doesn't want to work, he has control. So you better make sure you have a good head chef, and you probably should give him some equity.
How did you get those first customers?
Customers came from Trade Drive, from that initial app build, but then getting the word out there was all social media, man. It was all podcasts, those coaching sessions we briefly discussed, just building relationships and helping people. And this was natural to me. At the end of the day, people knew that I was really trying to make a better solution than what was out there. And I had a lot of people early on believe in it. And that kind of drove me to continue to like push through these challenges because I'm like, I have people that are counting on me to get this solution out. And I'm not going to stop until it's built and it's built well. And that hasn't stopped. I still have the same drive today. I'm probably way more diligent today, even though it's operational. Now the stakes are higher. Now I'm dealing with companies that are doing a lot more revenue and they need more functionality. They need speed. They need efficiency. Just continuously driving that ship forward.
What was the payment plan you offered those initial users?
It's never changed. We've added some add-ons, but it's been $147 a month plus or $97. But the $147 a month plan out of the gate was a move that I got from the ideology was Tesla, but I just knew that I'm coming out of the gate strong. That's it. Like we're coming out and comparatively, we were priced 2 to 3 times what the market was for CRM. But I knew that our software was different than every software out there. So I had to price it aggressively so we could hit the numbers we needed to, so I can afford to pay people to build it. So that was 147. And again, comparatively, that was high, but I also leveraged the tech stack that I was using to put together the first version of Trade Drive. And that was coming out to $200 if you bought everything individually. Justifying that was based off of that as well.
I see. Now you mentioned something from Tesla. What was that?
So when they first came out with the Roadster, they priced it exceedingly high, right? It was just one of those things. It was like the first, and that kind of created the perception that this was worth more, right? It's like one of those concepts. And then obviously once they got the market share, once they created the desire, then they lowered the price of some of their other vehicles. But they came out of the gate expensive.
Stryker Digital specializes in SEO services specifically for local service businesses. Bodie and Andy, the 2 co-founders, have helped me get Bear Claw Land Services to the #1 search result on Google inside my state for my specific search term. If you want to learn more, visit strykerdigital.com. That's STRYKER-digital.com.
Interesting. That's that whole psychological pricing
Absolutely.
move.
Yeah, absolutely. I could have been scared. I could have did under 100, but I just want to, I'm like, look, man, we're putting a lot of work into this thing. It's worth paying for it. That's where we landed.
What's the old saying? There's room for 2 in any market, the highest and the lowest price.
It's like that.
Person who delivers the best service and the best quality, and then the one who undercuts everybody on price. One could argue that your type of customer that you're going to deal with is going to follow whatever pricing strategy you take.
Oh, absolutely. 100%.
All right. How many users right now?
Right now we have, I think we're up to 2,100 businesses using Drip Jobs right now.
Wow.
Yeah, man. Some of those businesses have 2 to 3 users, so maybe like 6,000 users, maybe. I don't know the exact user count, but we look at it like businesses, like around 2,100 businesses.
Incredible.
Yeah.
And then how has the user base evolved? In the beginning, you're targeting painting companies at the $1 million, 2 million mark?
500,000 to 1.5 million sweet spot, because a lot of them are coming from nothing and then using Drip Jobs. So it's an easier transition for them. But yeah, painting companies was #1. Concrete companies, you and I talked about decorative concrete, coating companies, those sorts of guys. And that was just because I had put out content around painting. And of course I own a painting business. So it was very relatable the way the software works. Now we have fence installation companies using it, granite installation company, anyone that has a contractual pipeline, right? So in other words, the way we look at it is you have 11 stages of the customer buying cycle. You have a new lead that can come in from Google LSA, Facebook ads, a lead funnel, Home Advisor. They're a new cold lead. From there, you have a warm lead. So if you speak to one of those people and they say, hey, I'm not buying my house for another 2 months, but I just wanted to waste your time. So they will get moved to the warm lead stage. And then from there, we have people that request estimates. So they're ready to get an estimate, but they sit in a queue so we can vet the estimate. We can allocate the salesperson and decide when we're going to go. And then we have people that are scheduled for an estimate. We have customers that are in the in-draft stage, which these are customers that we're building their proposal for. The proposal sent stage, that's customers we've sent proposals to. Proposal rejected stage, these are customers that reject our proposal, which they can do within Drip Jobs. And then you have project pipeline. These are accepted proposals, customers that move forward. proposals that are scheduled, jobs that are in progress, and jobs that are complete. Now you can add more stages, but these are the stages that roofing companies, fencing companies, painting companies, concrete coating companies. What else are we getting? We're getting a bunch of different, I can't think of it off the top of my head, but these are this is the buying cycle for these types of customers across all these industries. And Drip Jobs is perfect.
Love it. And then how are you differentiated from some of the other softwares in the market?
Yeah, it's the automation out of the gate, right? So Drip Jobs, most people think that means like a messy paint job, like they don't understand the concept behind a drip. So a drip message is a text and an email that gets sent in a timed fashion. Picture a water faucet dripping, like drip. And essentially what happens, all those stages that I mentioned to you, 80% of those stages, the card moves automatically, right? So in other words, if I send a proposal in Drip Jobs, it moves the card in your pipeline from in draft to proposal sent. It doesn't just move it, it triggers the next sequence to send. Every one of those stages I mentioned to you has a different set of communication that has to be contextual to the customer specific experience with your company. For example, in my system right now, I have hundreds of emails going out today. And there's emails going out to cold leads and text messages. There's emails and text messages going out to cold leads. There's emails and text messages going out to people that we sent proposals to. There's thank you messages going out to people that have accepted our proposal. There is notification messages going out to people that are in progress and next steps and how to make a payment and all that stuff. Really what the differentiator is that our software is built off of automation and communication first. And then we put all the invoicing and scheduling and all that stuff on top of that. Whereas the big players like ServiceTitan, Jobber, the other ones that we are winning business from, they built their software with invoices, proposals, scheduling first, and they're trying to add automation and communication on top. And that's hard for me to explain, but it makes it convoluted because I believe, and this is why we built it, is because the foundation of relationships, personal and business, starts with communication. So that's what makes Drip Jobs special, is that the communication is unbeatable unless the software was built with communication as the first component and then padded on top of everything.
So I'm going to do something crazy here. Maybe I'm not. But so the reason I love what you've built so much, and I have to be careful what I've said because I do have sponsors in place here. So I've hacked this system internally between two different tools. So I have all these automation, and I would love to get, oh man, this would be, I know it would be so fun to do right now, because I think you could break down my process and you're like, dude, that's great. And that sucks. And this is where your system is broke. I'm using automation tools to go from our management system to our communication system. So I'm using Go High Level, Build 12, which is one of my business coaches' white label products. So that functions as our drip in. But where my pain point is right now, and I'm basically selling for you right now, the pain point is this comes in, right? So I have to have new lead comes in on the website or Meta ads or Google ads, right? Comes into our new lead pipeline. Those 11 different stages you were talking about, right? We have all those built out in Go High Level. So that happens. My sales guy lives in there, but he's also sending estimates. Go High Level doesn't send estimates, doesn't manage jobs, right? So Jobber is our management tool. So we've got to transition from communication system to Jobber. And it sounds like this was the pain you saw early and you just went full ahead and you built the system, which I think is really cool. But I knew we were going to jive on this because I'm like, man, I can't wait to learn more about what he's built, because I've built this system internally, but it's hacked together. And you, as well as I do, there are all these automations that have to happen to get it from Go High Level into Jobber and then back into. So when we send an estimate, I have to trigger an automation to send that to move in Go High Level so that our sales guy knows this is moved, right?
Absolutely. Everything that you're saying, first of all, Go High Level wasn't around when I started. That's why I used Active Campaign. I would have 100% used Go High Level. Honestly, if Go High Level was around, I may not have started Drip Jobs. To be honest with you, I was using Active Campaign. And yes, everything you're saying is the reason why people switch to us, because of that exact reason. First of all, there's no company that's excited about using multiple softwares. Second of all, everything you just described to me is very high level technical difficulty. The average contractor who needs everything that you're saying that you built, it's very hard for them to build that or find someone to build that. It's very expensive. So essentially, we have it all built out of the box. The minute you sign up for Drip Jobs, all you have to do is add your logo, and you're doing everything that you just described in 5 minutes. That's the difference. The drip's already pre-done. The emails and notifications are already pre-done. And the project management's built in. The project management includes job costing. It includes, if you're a painting contractor, production rates, invoicing, change orders, work orders, all these things that, you need to run your business. And again, this is where I go back to, I'm the contractor. So I know I need all these things. So I put it in there and prioritized it. But yes, everything you're saying is 100% true. And there's pain points as you scale when you have to send data back and forth. Sometimes the data gets lost in transition. It comes back funky, or it doesn't do what it's supposed to do. And these are, again, like, it works for you because you found a way to build it. But for the average guy, they don't have a shot.
So here's what I will say. And I think you probably know, dude, I have been on a bender. I went down to Austin. I'm helping this guy launch this business.
Okay.
Right. Very successful entrepreneur in the internet marketing space.
Right.
Wants to be in land clearing. Right. So he hires me as a consultant. I fly down there. We do a 3-month deal. I spend a week with him down there. I'm trying to build it the way that I would build my business. Very bootstrapped, scrappy.
Sure.
And he's like, hold on, take a second here. Just take a step back. You've already done this. Let's build it the right way the first time. We're a sales and marketing company, and we hire professionals to fulfill the work. And so we just broke down the whole system. And he's in Bear Claw. Like, I know you've got the bones in place, but dude, you need to be buttoned up. Like, every single lead that comes in, whether it comes from Facebook, whether it comes from Google, whether it comes from your social, whether it comes from website, organic, they need to be tracked and they need to be tagged, and it needs to go through some sort of system in which you can track that all the way down to a closed job, so that you can come down to these metrics, which are, what is your customer acquisition cost and what is the lifetime value of that customer? And can you trace that back to your marketing, and how much is it costing you to get that customer? So I came back with so much energy. I was like, dude, our stuff is half-assed. Like, yeah. I hacked it all together. And as well as I do, when you're in operations, you build this stuff, and then when you're building the business, you get pulled into operations until you have the full team to manage that. So that was like whole year one. And
it's hard to iterate on it. If you said, well, I'm assuming you set it up, it's working, I'm going to go do something else, and then get back to that. That's the founder's dilemma, dude.
It is. And so, like, we have these automations coming in all last year, right? And I'm like, they're not perfect, but whatever. I'm like building on the fly. So I come back and I'm like, this is literally the most important thing that I could spend my time on. So I had this meeting with my team, and I'm like, guys, I'm going into hibernation mode. I will be in my office. The lights are going to be off. I'm going to be up in the morning at 3. I'm going to be working after I get my daughter down. Yeah. And I told my wife this too. And she's like, what are you doing? But I will tell you, the amount of time that I have spent setting up these automations to get this system built right over the last 3 weeks, and hiring. I was lucky. I found this DoorDash automation engineer. He found him on Upwork, dude, and he's a baller. And so he and I had just been going back and forth, just like building all these things. Then I had to go buy a make.com account, right? Because Zapier is limited in some of the things that it can do. I'm trying to paint the picture of, I think we've landed on a good system here that works for us. But to your point, like what you've built, I think you saw the same thing, or the same broken pieces that I've seen and experienced, and then you just went and built the solution that does all in one.
Yeah, man. And but again, I was listening to the pain, but I was also experiencing the pain, and coming from, and let's go to that customer service background, right? Like, the thing is that the first pain was, I was like, I feel like my customers are not getting the best experience. Like, that's where it came from. It wasn't about like me being efficient. It just came from this aspect of my life where I recognized that people will pay more for a better experience. This is true in many cases of our society. For example, you go to the World Series, same game, different seats. You sit it behind home plate, paying 20 grand. You sit up in the nosebleeds, you're paying $800. Same game, different experience. This concept is prevalent in every area of our society. When it comes down to my painting business, we can't separate ourselves very much. People first think they can paint. That's my first competition, is the homeowner who thinks that he can do it. The second competition is everyone else that owned the painting business. And it's everyone. I think everyone's first business is a painting business. And then the third one is the competitors, the killers out there, the ones that are operating at the same or higher level than me. So we can't compete on painting. And I knew that early on. If I was just going to compete on painting, I'm in trouble. I have to compete on experience. The best indicator, you can ask any homeowner, the best indicator of a phenomenal experience is perfect communication. Perfect. Every step of the way. We love communication, right? We want to know when our deliveries are on the way. We want to track our packages. We want to get a phone call in our driveway. So don't think for a second that your home service customers, don't think for 1 second that these people don't have high expectations about communication for a service that they're paying for. The standard is just so low right now because not many people understand this concept that when they receive exceptional communication, it's an outlier. So they trust you more, and trust, usually they're willing to give their money for. So this is a very deep psychological topic that I love. I think that desire came from you, obviously from an efficiency standpoint, and for your customers too. This is just a core need in us to make sure that first of our customers are taken care of, and then our back end is synonymous with that. That's my approach toward the whole automation topic and wanting to get that in the hands of as many people as possible.
Absolutely. I would agree with you 100%. It just comes from a place of,
Yeah.
look, like we have an internal rule. We don't bash or talk bad about our competitors. I'm talking about competitors of Bear Claw, right? We just focus on what we do,
Yep.
block and tackle.
I'm with
So I was going to go down this route of,
I love that.
I think when I started this business, it was like, I know that we can provide a level of service and professionalism that our competitors are not, because we can implement these digital tools
Sure.
that allow us to send professional invoices, that allow us to schedule a job efficiently, and that allow us to communicate immediately upon when they reach out. Nobody wants to wait for an estimate. If somebody's filling out a form, there's a good chance that they're in the market and ready to buy. And if you catch them quick,
Yep.
before they start scrolling to the other things, you're going to catch them in the mode. And I just had this premise of, if we can be fast on the phones, we're going to just have an opportunity to bid more jobs, because a lot of people out there won't go search for another competitor if they have somebody who's, hey, I can come within 3 hours.
All they have to do is hit the back button, man, and go down the list. And that's
right.
That is powerful for a homeowner, man. They don't care about whether or not you can get around to reaching back out. And there is so much friction in the buying process. Something is simple. Look, something is standard and simple. And I've done this. I implore you to do it just to get a couple kicks, but go to your competitors' websites. Look at what their contact form is. If it's a standard contact form that says contact us, first name, last name, email, tell us about your project, that contractor is cooked. And I say that because that information is going to get dropped into an email. That email has to be looked at by a human. From that point on, that human has to make a decision on when they're going to call. Harvard did a study on speed to lead. They're the only ones that have done this study. But essentially, there's a 400% drop off from 1 to 5 minutes, but 5 to 10 minutes, it's like triple that, right? In terms of getting back to an interested lead like this. And that was like 5 years ago. So it's just going to be harder and harder when people submit their information to capitalize on that. On my website, you cannot submit a form without submitting the date and time you want us to come, answering a question, and pretty much committing to an estimate that we essentially confirm on our side. It's a one-stop shop. You're going to tell us everything you want. You're going to put in the dates you want, the time of day you want, and then we're going to book it. And we're not going to call you. We're just going to book it. And we're going to get that.
Interesting.
Success rate is 73%. So that means
What?
3% of every single customer that comes into our pipeline, we schedule.
Okay, so I'm very fascinated about this, and this is something I spent a lot of time on the last 3 weeks. It's like reducing friction on the
Good
form.
timing for this meeting.
Okay, so I'm going to break this down. How much? Oh, dude, we're already 2 minutes over. Do you have a hard stop? What's your painting website here?
paintpremium.com.
All right, so let's go back for listeners here. You said Harvard did a study that says the drop-off is 400% after 5 minutes.
Let's see. Let me make sure I get it right. Harvard Business Studies speed. Anyone can look this up. So they're the only ones that did a short life of how speed the lead, and they have some cool online graphics here. It's like these brief. So here it is. I have the response time here. Pull this up real quick so I can get the numbers right. So speed to lead. So it says, here's the one. All right. So the best time to respond is within 5 minutes. Within 5 minutes, obviously the best time to respond. And then from that point on, it's a 10x decrease after the first 5 minutes. So in other words, in terms of your chances of getting in touch with that customer decreases by 10 times. There's a whole study on this, and I'll send it to you. And I'm trying to find the one where it talks about the percentages, but yeah, it's a 10% decrease after 5 minutes, which is insane.
That is incredible.
Yeah. And that was done in
Insane.
2019. Statistically, you will see a 400% decrease after 5 minutes. It says it right there. So 400% decrease after that 5 minutes. Yeah. So we just eliminate all that, and we just have automations that are hitting them instantly.
Okay, so on your painting, this is a Drip Jobs custom form.
It is.
Whenever they click
Yep.
get estimate. Okay, so this, I'm interested to hear your viewpoint on this.
Marketers will tell you that you just want to have one piece of information so they don't leave the page. And I think that's baloney, dude. I really do. I think like what you're going to get with that, because what we did was we actually tested that on Facebook. So
Okay.
we used to have a form on Facebook, and with Facebook, it's even worse because they already have your first and last name. So they don't even ask you to put that in. I think the only thing you have to do at that point is you need to confirm the information before you send it in as a lead form. So that there was no friction. Like literally you see my ad, you click the button, the pop-up comes up and you hit, I want an estimate. Sec rate when I was doing that was about 49%. And that was as a company. I think it was like 26% for Facebook in and of itself. That was a major problem. And the leads were terrible, dude. We would go, our closing ratio was just off because there was no thought put into the form, right? So all we did was we added service details and zip code, right? So they actually had to physically type that in. The leads are way better. Sales for Facebook ads are going up, right? At that point, it's okay. For me personally, I don't want volume. I want quality. And I think anyone would say it. So when you go to my website, you are a high intent lead. We're not running any cold traffic to our website. There's not a banner on social media that's driving you to our website. So it's if you found my website, you went to Google, you click the website button, you're on my website. If you click schedule estimate, at that point, you are a qualified lead. So I'm going to qualify you the same way I would over the phone. And it's going to be favorable for you because you don't have to get on the phone with me. So that's the way we look at that.
Okay. I 100% agree with you that the more friction, the better qualified they are. So you are collecting first name, last name, email address, phone number, address, city, state, zip code, service details, which day works best for you for an appointment, what is another day that works for you,
Yeah.
what time of day works best for you, when are you wanting to get this project done, and then please add a few photos.
They don't have to add the photos, but people add the photos. And what happens is when we get that information, the thing is, the way we look at it is, imagine you're hungry and you want to go eat at a restaurant and you don't have to worry if the restaurant's closed. You just go and you can get your food and get what you wanted in that moment. That's what to me, that's the psychology behind it is we're just letting people check the box. So think about this for a second. You go to a company that has a website that has that contact us form. And essentially they put in the contact information and it says, thank you, your submission has been received. Okay. Does that really check the box if they get no communication beyond that? No, it doesn't. So if I was tasked to go and get an estimate for a painting estimate, I can't check the box on that yet because I'm unsure what the next step is. That company, even if they don't know it, they're creating doubt in the minds of their customers on the initial impact. So for us, if you filled out that form right now, you would obviously get a confirmation, you'd be redirected, and you would get an email and a text message that lets you know exactly what the next step is. Thank you for filling out the form. Within 24 hours, we will confirm your appointment. And it's way sooner than that. But it sometimes happens at night on Friday or Sunday. second. And then you're going to get an email that thanks them so much. And it's a personal email. It's not like the Calendly emails you and I use on our business to business relationships. It's like, thank you so much for requesting an estimate. This is what we're building at Drip Jobs. We appreciate the opportunity to serve you. While we're waiting and confirming the details, let me tell you a little bit about why I've started the company. And now it's okay. This is good. Because what we're doing is we're keeping the momentum alive until human eyes can get to it.
Yes.
Some businesses right now, they don't understand that people in their limited time don't care about your business. They care about their project. And you need to understand that. And I think maybe 10 or 15 years ago, the contractor had the leverage. And I think now the homeowner has the leverage because they have options. And we need to make sure that we're keeping that momentum alive just enough to get them to the next step. Get them to the next step. Get them to the next step. And that separates you. Yes, pretty deep topic, but that's my belief.
And in that first email, that was going to be my next question. You're dripping them immediately into about us, or it's, hey, here's next steps. Here's what to expect. Here's what you can expect. And is the second email about us, or is it within that first?
So it's actually so you can do the way I described. The way I do it in my business is it gives them the next step, and we're really fast about scheduling it. They're going to be in the estimate scheduled stage the longest. That's when we do the story. That's when we do this is what you can expect. These are the questions you should ask us during the estimate. Like that's what's going out. So it is, hey, hang tight. We're going to get you scheduled in. Boom, scheduled it. Card moves to estimate scheduled. Customer gets the drip sequence because they're going to be in that stage for 1 or 2 days. And then from there, they're going to get the story. I used to have it in there, but I was scheduling them too fast, which means they weren't going to get that drip. But if you like to take your time, and that's the beauty of it, is as long as people feel like they're being taken care of, like you just need to check. It's a little check-in, right? It's just a little, that's all they need. But if you have a website that they're putting that information in and it's getting dropped off into an email and there's no instant feedback, people have doubt, and doubt creates fear. Fear creates, I need to go find another option because I'm not sure if I'm going to get my need taken care of. And what happens, you might say, okay, we're fast at it Monday through Friday from 8 a.m. to 6. What about the other time? Friday night, Saturday, all day, and Sunday. These time periods need to be thought about because people don't not request things on those days.
Do you have automation triggers with parameters set up within Drip Jobs where it's, if I get this email after business hours, it's a different trigger?
Say it one more time.
This is a really specific question. For example, if you get like the last lead we got at 10:30 p.m. on I don't know, it was last night or something. So
Okay.
if we're getting that lead, is that a different email sequence that you send out?
Yeah, no. So it's the same. It's the same either way. So ultimately, the email that goes out is just going to be, let's think of it like the way I look at it is I forget what they call it, but it's like the assembly line, right? And maybe that's what they call it. Essentially, it's every customer we want to go through the same exact process. And when you have that in business, then you can pinpoint areas of friction because we have consistency and we're saying, okay, the same thing keeps popping up every time a customer gets to this stage. So that allows us, when you have a baseline consistency of how your customers interact with your business, at that point, you can step back and be like, okay, this is the problem area. Let me pluck that out. Let me fix that a little bit. Let me run them through it again. Okay, we're getting friction here. Pluck that out. So that's the way I see it, is like, I just want my customers to have the most consistent buying experience ever. And I'm now transitioning that into our estimating process where it was taking me, because I was building the estimates for my painting business using Drip Jobs, right? I send someone out, he does an estimate by measuring all the surfaces, taking pictures, giving the brochure, doing the spiel, gets the measurements to me, and I was putting it in Drip Jobs, right? Checking it, making sure the numbers are good. I don't know why it took me so long to delegate this, but I finally did to a VA. Problem is my estimates were taking 72 hours on average. I'm so busy. I'm just like, I don't feel like doing this, right? Now she has a KPI. So it's like, we need the estimate out within 3 hours of him going to the house. I was able to narrow down that problem because everything else was a constant. So I was like, you know what? All right, let's squeeze that down. And now that's going to be our KPIs. And within 3 hours, there should be an estimate ready to be sent. And then we can send it the same day and create an even better, faster, more efficient experience for our customer. People don't want to wait for their price. I know that. I don't. It's like, I'm literally only meeting with you so I can see how much money it is. right? I was creating too much friction at that stage of the buying process.
Now, whenever a new user signs up, you said they only have their logo. Are all these sequences embedded in their account right out the gate, or are they templates that they can edit?
Yeah.
Or do you give them the rundown?
So since automation, I'm going to give you this example, right? So you wanted to, right now in Go High Level, if you wanted to create this automation, right? New lead comes in, create a contact, create a deal, organize the deal in this stage, right? Very simple automation, not multi-step automation, right?
This episode is brought to you by Dialed In Bookkeeping. Ben and his team provide bookkeeping services, job costing reports, and accurate financial information for the home services industry. If you're looking to keep your books up to date, visit dialedinbookkeeping.com/OWNR OPS. When you use this specific landing page, you'll get your first 3 months 50% off.
Our system is built that way. When you add a new lead, it creates a contact, creates a deal, and puts it in the right stage. That's it. So you just add the lead and it does all that. That's the standard. And it puts it in the pipeline.
And those templates, though, the text and email
Already
sequences, they're already built.
Every stage has templates already built that are general. You can go in and edit, but they're general and they do the trick. And most people don't paint it. These were the original ones I used to use in my painting business. I just eliminated the painting component and everything has keywords. So it tailors to that customer. Hey, Joe. Hey, Steve. Hey, Nick. Thank you for requesting that estimate. And now we have a Zap now. I'm a Zapier absolute freak, but we have a Zap now where you can actually tweak the sequence. So if you want to do a Zap just for Facebook leads and bring them into Drip Jobs, you can change the sequence in one shot in Zapier. So in other words, you may just have a sequence just for Facebook leads in a different town. Say, hey, Joe, it's Tanner from Jonestown. I got your request on Facebook. And what we find is, dude, if we just say like a one sentence phrase, the response rate's through the roof. Hey, Joe, did you get my last text? Hey, Joe, are you still interested? And this is honestly, I'm going to give some free game to anyone right now that does drip messages to new leads. This is by far the most effective drip message that you could possibly ever send. So after the first one that goes out immediately, usually we put a link in there. It does look automated, but I would like people to get that link. I wait 1 hour and I say, actually, does Wednesday work for an estimate? There's a Wednesday every week of the year. It could be, if Wednesday's tomorrow, it means tomorrow. If Wednesday's next week, it means next Wednesday. And they'll either say yes or no, can we do Tuesday? It just comes across so personal, like I physically typed it. And we're getting so many responses from that. So there's all sorts of ways to tweak your Drip Jobs account based on your preferences and different things that you learn. And yeah, so that's what we're doing over here.
I got to say hats off to you because
appreciate it.
I know how much work has gone into it. It's not only just the building part. It's the psychology piece that you've put yourself not only in your shoes as its owner, but in the customer's shoes and trying to understand what friction points is this or what pain is this customer feeling right now? And how do we just guide them through the next step? Because that's all we are, right? If we can just easily communicate and say, here's the next step and be very clear about that, then the customers take the next step. But to put yourself in the customer's shoes and build this out, hats off to you, man.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it. Like I said, I came from that customer service background and having empathy.
Look, I hear your Slack going off. My phone's ringing here. We got businesses to run. So let's get to the day and I want to stay in touch.
Yeah.
Where can people find you online?
On X, it's at Tanner Drip Jobs. On Instagram, it's official Tanner Mullen. I just want to shout out that we give any new business 4 months of Drip Jobs for free. So check that out at dripjobs.com.
Talk about you watch Hormozy stuff, like no brainer offer.
That's a no-brainer. 4 months, no test. Just upload your business registration and you get 4 months absolutely free, all features to help you start your business. Because I remember what it was like and it was hard.
Incredible. I hear the family in the background too. So we're going to wrap this one up. Listeners, thanks again for listening to another episode of the OWNR OPS Podcast. We drop episodes every Friday and send a weekly newsletter summarizing the main learning lessons that people like Tanner share. We bring on people in service-based industries like painting companies. We've also had on excavation business owners, stump grinding business owners, power washing, you name it. We've had everybody on. So if this is your first time listening to this podcast, just go back and listen to some of the former episodes here. And if you haven't signed up for the newsletter yet, it's ownerops.com/newsletter. We'll send a summary of this week's episode. And we appreciate you guys listening. Just like building a service-based business, podcasts are very similar as well. 5-star reviews are much appreciated. If you are enjoying this type of content, would you mind to just take 30 seconds and leave us a 5-star review on Apple or Spotify? If you're listening on YouTube, we'd sure appreciate it. Subscribe. You'll get notified when we drop new episodes. All right, we're going to wrap this one up. We'll see you guys next week. Don't forget, work hard, do your best, never settle for less.
Thanks, brother.